Today, I'm joined by a huge advocate for U.S. manufacturing. Meaghan Ziemba is the host of the Mavens of Manufacturing, and she also does some tech writing work as her day job. So, we'll be talking about why manufacturers have issues with skill development and hiring and some solutions to that. We'll talk about ways to collaborate as nonprofits helping to support the manufacturing universe. And we'll also touch upon our recent industrial marketing summit and some of Meaghan's biggest takeaways when she attended the event. And you'll learn about technical writing, both the type where you're creating instruction manuals for products, as well as writing for technical audiences, because Meaghan knows a lot about both. Let's do this.
Welcome to Content Marketing Engineered, your source for building trust and generating demand with technical content. Here is your host, Wendy Covey.
Hi, and welcome to Content Marketing Engineered. On each episode, I'll break down an industry trend, challenge, or best practice in reaching technical audiences. You'll meet colleagues, friends, and clients of mine who will stop by to share their stories. And I hope that you leave each episode feeling inspired and ready to take action. Before we jump in, I'd like to give a brief shout out to my agency, True Marketing. True is a full-service agency located in beautiful Austin, Texas, serving highly technical companies. For more information, visit truemarketing.com. And now, on with our podcast. Hey, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Content Marketing Engineered. I am thrilled today to talk to Meaghan Ziemba, or Ziemba. Meaghan, which is it? Meaghan Ziemba?
Yeah, it's but it's okay. I mean, people say many different things, so it doesn't matter.
Anyway, Meaghan is the owner of Z Inc. Solutions, and she's also the founder and host of the Manufacturing Mavens. And I'm super excited to have you on the show today. Thanks for being
Thank you,
here.
Andy. Yeah, thank you. I'm excited to talk to you because we didn't get to talk at the marketing summit. So
I know
really
we
excited.
just saw each other, and I think you had to whisk in and whisk out, but I'm so happy that you're able to come to Austin and be a part of the event. And we will get to all that because I definitely want your feedback on what you liked and what you didn't.
Yeah.
But first, I thought it would be fun for our listeners and viewers to just understand a little bit about you and your career journey, because you have some interesting stuff when I look on LinkedIn and read about you. So give me the scoop.
Yeah, so by trade, I'm a technical writer for industrial manufacturers. I've actually been writing for the industry since 2008. And I was one of those cases where when I was in high school, didn't really know what I wanted to do. I always tested well in English, not so much in math and science. Really loved
Same.
science. I really love science. I thought I was going to be a zoologist, but then when we had to do like formulas and stuff, my mind just couldn't concentrate on all the complexities, and I just didn't do really well for that. But always did writing, loved poetry writing, loved storytelling. My mom and my dad kind of made fun of me when I was younger because I could watch a movie and like repeat it back verbatim when people asked me about the movie. Always attracted like storytelling. And then I started my college career out in Minnesota in the Twin Cities, and still was undecided at that point because I really didn't want to be in college. And I was on academic probation like the 2 years that I was there, which did not make my parents very happy. And then
not. But were you having fun?
I mean, yes and no. Like it was school. Like I've never been a fan of like school. It just was really difficult for me to always stay focused on one thing because I'm naturally curious. So I like to learn about everything and just travel to different places and learn why things are the way that they are. So it just never was a fit for me to be in school trying to focus on one topic. And then I ended up getting pregnant my second year with my daughter. So I had to kind of like re-strategize what my life goals were going to be going forward. So I moved back to Wisconsin, and that's really where I found out about technical writing. One of my classmates, she was a single mom and she was in the technical writing track, and she was telling me about it. And I was like, well, what the hell is a technical writer? Like, I don't even know what that is. And she kind of explained it to me. And I was like, you write manuals and like instructions? Like, that doesn't really sound fun. But then I had a teacher there who made it really fun and interesting. And the theories behind technical writing was just fascinating to me, because if you're not particular about how you're writing information in certain situations, it can be catastrophic to whoever's reading that information. And it's the same across different like cultures and languages. Like you
Mhm.
really have to be careful on how you're presenting information, or it can cause some serious issues, especially in technical fields. So when I graduated college, I then was introduced to the lovely world of applying for jobs and like fighting, like basically sticking up for what my degree was in. And a trade publication actually picked up my resume, and they brought me in and they were like, "What's your engineering experience?" And I'm like, "I'm not an engineer, I'm a writer. Like, I don't even know how to do math. So if we're doing math here, I probably shouldn't
I'm
be
out.
interviewing for the, yeah, I probably should be interviewing this job." So they hired me and they started me out on writing product descriptions for their publication, which was really interesting because I got to learn about products I didn't even know existed, like things that go into your cell phone, materials that your shoes are made out of. Like it was really interesting to see this world of information that I didn't even know existed. So
Mhm.
I was hooked right away. And then they were like, "Do you want to try writing articles?" And I'm like, "Yeah, sure. Like, what do I do?" And they're like, "You have to talk to people." And I'm like, "Okay, that seems simple enough." So I was able to meet different engineers and designers and like really learn about like why things are made and why certain materials are picked and how the design process is. And it was just another fascinating world that opened up to me, because I didn't know there was so much complexity within design and development and production. Like it's just crazy how so many things are involved. And then I started learning about the different careers, and I was like, why didn't I know about any of these things? So it was really fun because I was able to take my technical writing skills and combine it with my story writing skills that I had in high school, and just showcasing the why of why things are made and the value that it brings to all of us, but also getting to know the makers of the world and how passionate they are about some of the things that they're doing. And it was also interesting to see like the the fear that some of the engineers had about being at the forefront of what they were designing and making. So a lot of them were like antisocial and a little awkward. I hate to say awkward because it makes it sound negative, but they weren't used to having the spotlight on them. They were used to being in an office and figuring out, okay, this is the problem we're having. How do we fix it? And they didn't understand why it was important to share that information. So it was really fun to like get them to open up and get really excited. And I found out that engineers really love to teach. So it was just such a great experience having those conversations. And then from there, I tried higher education. So I went into marketing for a liberal arts college, and I was so bored. Like it was just not
Yeah,
fun
that's
for
a big
me.
difference.
Yeah, and then
And at least it wasn't
after,
like soap or deodorant or something like that, but
yeah,
still, I hear you.
I still feel like I would possibly have more fun in that area than higher education, but there was just, so it was like trying to get more students to enroll. And I think maybe my dislike for just school in general probably had an effect on like how I felt in that position. But then I moved on from there into different marketing departments for different manufacturers. And I learned a lot about like CNC machining and bearings and additive manufacturing. And then right when COVID hit, I was a marketing manager for a photochemical etching company, which I didn't even know existed. And that was really cool to learn about that process because it's been around for centuries. Like if you think of knights way back in the day, they used etching, a form of etching, to like put designs in their armor. They used it for their swords. So it was just really cool to learn the history of that process and how it's advanced to today. And during that time, I also saw a lot of like conversations happening on LinkedIn because nobody could leave the house because we were all uh, isolated from COVID. And there was a lot of conversations happening, and there was a lot of great guys having those conversations. And I would like say, "Hey, I know these women who are in this field. You should really reach out and talk to them." And they I don't think they did because I would follow up with the women. They're like, "No, I've never heard from this person, and I was never asked to be on a podcast." So I was like, "Well, screw it. I'll just start my own podcast. So I developed Maven's Manufacturing, and it's really focusing on women and their skill set. I didn't want to be another like, yes, I'm all for women empowerment because I think we can all use a little extra boost in our confidence. But I didn't want to be that. I wanted to be
Mhm.
something where women were comfortable enough to come and share their stories and like some of the cool things that they were doing. So I decided to pick Mavens because it's a gender neutral word for connoisseur and expert. And I noticed a lot of women were using it in these tech fields as a like if you're a maven of welding or a maven of supply chain or so I just thought it would be cool to like combine all of that and showcase what women are doing in this sector because they're doing a lot of things outside of sales and marketing because traditionally that's where most of us ended up was in sales or marketing. But now you're seeing women who are running machines and programming machines and they're designing materials for things and they're welding and they're cutting and you're seeing younger girls like look up to these women and now they want to try welding or they want to try fabrication. And it's really cool to see the shift that's happening. So that's like my career from start to finish. And it's been really fun and exciting. And I'm not ever leaving again to go into higher education.
Yes, exactly. You found your home.
Yeah.
When you described the technical writing aspect and how the details are so important, I couldn't help but think about like building that IKEA dresser. And even though that's not as technical, it's just right. Those directions really matter. And like you said, all these languages, and then of course the stakes get higher when you're building, machines on a manufacturing floor that have to function a certain way, or people's lives could be
Yeah.
impacted, right? You could lose a finger or worse. So,
I think the best documentation out there, because I've been paying more attention to it because now I'm like addicted to Lego sets. Like I've always liked Lego, but ever since being in this industry and working with like packaging brands and everything like that, like Lego has that down to a science. And just the way that they describe like when you're supposed to flip it and start building on this side, if it's left to right or right to left, like it's amazing how well they write their instructions just to build Lego sets. So I like my dream one of these days, and one of my goals is to go to the actual facility and meet their writers because I want to know like the
yeah,
process of how they put
their
those instructions together.
methodology, right? You can imagine they have a framework for this, a
Yeah,
methodology, and they have it down. Yeah,
they
that's
do.
awesome. That's awesome. Well, people will ask me, okay, is a technical writer the same as writing for technical audiences? And right, the two have some overlap, but at back in my National Instruments days, there was the technical writing department that did exactly what you were trained for, which is writing all the manuals for all the products.
Mhm.
And then over here, you had the writing department that wrote the white papers and the case studies and things like that. So
Mhm.
there's the two did not really interact together. One sat in R&D and one sat in marketing. So really interesting to see, and you've done both.
Yeah. So I think there is a difference, but I also think that with the advancements that are going on, you're seeing a lot of so an example that I can bring up, Jordan Yates, who spoke at the summit, she calls herself a marketing engineer. And I reached out to her because I've never seen that term before. I was like, I've never seen marketing and engineer put together. So I think she's in a great position because she can do really well marketing for engineering because she also has an engineering background.
Right.
So I think you're going to start seeing a lot more of that combination for people who want to be in engineering and manufacturing, but also want to be in marketing. They're going to have some of that technical training because it's really difficult to write for a technical audience if you don't have some background in a technical field. So a lot of my clients who reach out to me, the reason why they want to work with me is because yes, I'm good at the technical information. I have experience. I know who to reach out to. I know what questions to ask.
Right.
But I also know how to do the marketing writing as well too and include the storytelling elements. So it's not so dry and boring. Yeah, you need that for like white papers, but in terms of like case studies, you really want those storytelling elements in there because you want to bring the reader in and keep them there and retain them there so that they know, why is this problem, like, what is this problem, why is it so important that we're solving it. So I
Right.
think it's best, if you want to be in the technical field as a marketer, you should get some training in that technical space. And there's some resources out there that I can share with you if you want to link to them. I
Sure.
can't think of them off the top of my head because I haven't had enough coffee today, but I can send them to you and you can link to them because there's some really good books that people can read in the technical space, that can give you a lot of great theories and information on how to write technical documents.
Yeah, yeah. So, pairing that writer with a subject matter expert is great, but then that
Yeah,
one level above that is the more you write for that space, the faster it is to comprehend what someone's saying, to understand the acronyms, to understand the significance of that application or that solution. And then,
right.
of course, that engineering education is then that next layer above that. So, yeah,
Yeah.
I'm with you. We get a lot of times people will come to True Marketing and they'll say, "Oh, I tried to hire an agency to do my writing, and they just couldn't understand what we're doing, couldn't write even one usable page." I'm like, "Yeah, it's a very specialized discipline to write about things like RF and
Yeah,
HMI SCADA or whatever it is." Yeah.
I actually had an automation company come to me and they were like, we're trying to market more in the United States because they're a European company. And I said, okay, I have a great agency that I can introduce you to. And they were not happy because what ended up happening was, the agency just presented all of these slides of their capabilities and really didn't showcase that they were an expert
Ah,
in that particular field.
mhm.
So again, yes, marketing, it's going to be different within engineering and manufacturing. Like, your clients want you to know that you know what their industry is, and they want to know that you can talk about it appropriately. So they were not happy with me that I made that connection. I
Oh
was like,
no.
they're really good though. Like, they're a good company. They're a
Yeah,
good
they can
agency. They're like,
learn. Yeah.
they were like, well, they didn't show me that. And I'm like, okay, I understand. Like, I get
Yeah.
it. I'm sorry. So yes, if you're a marketing agency and you want more industrial marketing clients, make sure you do your research and like know the industry that you're trying to like market for. Cause if you don't, they're going to call you out on it and they're
Yeah,
not going to be happy.
exactly. And rightfully so.
Yeah.
Um, well, Meaghan, you're a big advocate for manufacturers, especially when it comes to hiring and skill development. And let's shift gears a little bit and just talk about that. What are some of the big issues facing manufacturers?
So we have, it's been called so many things, and I just call it the skills gap. So we're we don't have we're having a difficult time bringing in the right talent for some of these processes and manufacturing companies. So manufacturing is so broad. Like, we have automation and robotics and CNC machining and even packaging processes. And um, right now we're a little bit behind. And I feel like, how many years ago it was, we started focusing more on 4-year college level education. And I'm not trying to ditch on that at all because that's my background. But not everybody likes that type of education. There's a lot of people that like hands-on things. So I think we kind of like made this negative stigma around VOTech programs. Um, and now we're kind of like paying for that. So there's a lot of people who are about to retire. Um, but at the same time, there's a lot of advanced technologies that we really don't have like the specific curriculum, and it's going to be different in the community. So I think one of the biggest barriers right now is the gaps between communications between the actual manufacturers and the communities, but also the educational institutions. So what you're learning on the academia side of things isn't necessarily going to be what's actually happening in the industry. So, for example, there's a gentleman named Matt Goosey, and he started this SOS program where it's Save Our Schools. He's a CNC machinist. He does CNC machining, so he was able to get funding for this program where he is taking the VOTech teachers within the high schools in his community and able to bring them out to his shop and teach them what he is actually doing in the shop for
Mm.
industry. And then they're able to go back and teach the students. And he's like, a lot of people don't know this about schools, but like if you're in a certain program, you get signed up for like bus duty or like other duties in the school that necessarily aren't helping advance your skill set. And he's like,
Yeah.
because manufacturing is ever changing and there's advancements always happening, teachers kind of get left behind sometimes because they're not given the opportunity to expand their skill set. So how can we build this incentive for them? And so he got funding to do that. And I think it was like a 5,000, I don't quote me on this, I would have to ask him. I think he got like $5,000 added to their yearly salary. So they
Wow.
were making more money to continue their learning and then bring that learning back to the school so that they could teach the students. And then this way, when the students graduated, if they wanted to continue with CNC machining, they were connected to Matt's company and able to either get like an apprenticeship or an internship there.
Yeah.
Or if they wanted to go to a four-year college, they could do something within CNC machining. So I
And of
think,
course, he had this great pipeline of recruits that were already
yeah,
trained the way he needed them to be trained. So what a
yeah,
great win-win example.
yeah. And I mean, it's different in the community. So like there's a county in Illinois, McHenry County. They do a fantastic job connecting the schools with the manufacturers in that area. Like if you walk into their high school, they have like an area that's dedicated to all of the major manufacturers within that county, and they have murals on the wall. So one of them, I think, does skateboards. So they have a whole wall just filled with like skateboards from this company. And then they have like the hot CNC machines all over the place. So but again, it depends on funding, and where is
Mhm.
funding determined? It's determined at the federal and state level. So you really need to start paying attention to like who's representing your counties and your states, because they're part of that decision-making process of like, okay, what policies are we going to put in place that are going to help small to medium-sized manufacturers?
Mm.
And this stuff I didn't even know. I just started learning about this like the end of last year and the beginning of this year because I was trying to get a robotics team started at the high school, and like
Nice.
one of the smaller robotics team was trying to help the high school, so they got grants and all that other stuff, but because of politics it fell through. So
Oh,
now the students are like, well, what the heck, we had everything lined up, like why didn't we pull the trigger on this? And there was just so many things that they can't really talk about. So again, it's these separate conversations, yes, we're having, that are important, but then how are they connected? Because it's not just, what's happening state and federal wise. It's not just the curriculum. It's not just, what communities can do apprenticeships and internships. Like it's everything
yeah.
that we need to start connecting and bring together so that we can really solve this problem. There's a lot of great people advocating for it. So Andrew Crow is one that I always pinpoint because he's doing a great job fighting for like just and impacted individuals and also BIPOC individuals. Um, there's a lot of other women out there who are doing like women in trades and women in construction, and they have podcasts. Even like the PPE that women want to wear. There's a lot of great companies out there now that are developing the right fit clothing for women who are in instruction, and people are like, why does that matter? And I'm like, well, if you're wearing a loose fitting
Yeah.
top and
Yeah.
you're working on like a
Yeah.
machine that can get caught in it, like
Sure.
the safety issue. And it's just confidence too. Like if you feel like you're
Absolutely.
being swallowed up by your uniform, you're not going to really perform well. So there's a lot of different conversations happening. And I think we just need to figure out, okay, how do we bridge these conversations so that everyone is talking to each other? Because I've
Mhm.
noticed too that there's community members in certain areas, and they didn't realize that there was like major manufacturing happening in their backyard because they just never were introduced to it. So, okay, so then how do we create events where you're not just inviting the students in from the schools, but you're also inviting their families? Because there's people who change their mind on their career pathway. And if they get invited to these facility tours, it might be someone in their 40s or 50s. They might be like, I want to try this out. And then they'll
Yeah, I
switch
can work
over.
alongside my kid and we can both go
Yeah,
work at that manufacturer.
right.
But
So, and I mean, that's how it used to be, right? Like
I
kids used to have a plan after high school where they're like, I'm going to go work at this manufacturing company because that's where my grandfather worked, that's where my dad worked, that's where my mom worked. And then in the late 90s, early 2000, the sector took a huge hit. And now everybody's kind of like, I shouldn't say everybody because not everybody is, but there's a lot of people that are hesitant to enter this sector because they still have kind of the shakes from what happened during that time where
Mhm.
it took a huge hit and a lot of people lost their jobs and were laid off, and nobody wants to do that because
Yeah.
that's not fun.
And also for the younger kids, I love your example of not only having the equipment where they can touch it from an early age in high school, or the robotics, go even younger. So being able to touch that equipment, but even those displays in the hallway. And of course, okay, skateboards really cool. But aside from that, having exposure to like, what is that big manufacturing building over there? I don't know what they do. I don't understand that. And so when you have those educational programs, maybe it opens people's mind to the possibility of that career. I know we
Yeah.
see some of that here in Austin. So a couple of examples to share with you. So of course, everybody knows that Tesla is now here outside of Austin. They're huge, huge manufacturing facility, and it's located east of Austin. And how do they recruit manufacturing workers? And so they started right away programs at all of those all those high schools in that immediate area that would be able to commute, quickly, kind of low income area. And so it was a boon for them to train workers at the high school level. Apple does the same thing where they join with the community college here at Austin Community College, and they have whole programs that feed into Apple. I think it's Cisco. Cisco Sun Microsystems is here now. Sun is Oracle, I guess. But anyway, they all have all these programs at Austin Community College. So people get in there and they get all the training they need to just step into a job, and it's kind of guaranteed placement. So
I
pretty good
think
stuff there.
that's I think that's super cool. So like I have a daughter who's 20. She's going to school for nursing. And the reason why she got attracted to nursing is because Grey's Anatomy of all things. But
I love it.
I have two little ones that are 4 and 6. And my youngest, he's obsessed with cars. So I'm pretty sure he might be getting involved with cars somehow because he knows all of the models just by looking at them. But the thing that they're doing in school is they actually have tablets in school, and they're encouraged to keep using tablets outside of school because we got an app to one of their educational platforms, and it's something for them to touch and match things to. So that's basically what some of these robotic brands are doing now is the touch and drop format. So why not tie robotics in at the kindergarten level or the pre-K level? Like, how can you do that? And yeah, I just think there's a way for companies to be proactive like Tesla is doing. Like, okay, we need this, so let's incorporate this at the kinder. And I think the thing is people are like, oh, well, kindergarten, they're not going to understand. Yeah, they might not understand, but you're at least exposing them. And you'll be surprised how much information my kids come back with that stick with them. And it's mostly about the technology they're using in the classes that they get really excited about. Like I'll ask them, oh, what songs did you sing at music? I don't know. I don't remember. But we did this today with this. And then firefighter day was massively popular. So they had firefighters come in. And it's because they came in and gave them stuff. They let them on the truck. They put the sirens on.
I
So
want to go to that. That sounds fun.
yeah, but I'm just saying like there's a way to make that connection with kids so that it's memorable, and then they're going to want to learn more and more about it. So like my kids are obsessed with police officers and firefighters right now, but I'm thinking, okay, what if like uh Kuka or UR or Fanic went into the schools and brought like their mini thing and then had the kids like do the touch screen and everything. Um, I know my kids would come home and be like, we played with this yellow robot, and like
Yeah.
they'd be super excited about it. They wouldn't remember the name of it probably, but they would remember that it was a giant yellow robot, or they would remember the colors, and I think that's what matters. So I'm trying to like bring that attention. So a couple of the robotic brands, they'll have Lego sets at the trade shows, and I pick those up all the time. and I bring them home and my kids are super excited about them because they're obsessed with Legos. But what a cool way to like get parents to really pick something up and bring it back to their kids and then have that conversation with their kids. Oh, I went to this trade show and here's what this is, and this is why I picked it up because you'll like it. And then the kids start asking questions. Well, what's a robot? What do they do? Like, because that's what my kids do. They wanted to know what the Lego set was. And wait a minute, I thought robots looked like this because they're used to it like having faces and stuff. From what they see, they didn't know that it was like arms and stuff. So how do we have these? How can we start initiating these conversations at younger ages so that as they grow up, it's still in the interest? One of the examples I had, I interviewed an engineering student. She now works for a robotics company near Kentucky, I think, and she was like, I was so used to the smaller robotic arms. She's like, it wasn't until I went to a manufacturing facility that I saw how massive they get.
Oh,
And
yeah.
she's like, well, I want to program that. That's what I want to do. So she ended up being a robotics programmer, robotics, and I don't know the name for it, but that's what she ended up going into, and she loves it. Like she loves her job.
Yeah. So
So
some of this is the cool factor, if we could put that label on it. And I can't help but think that, beyond corporate programs to get into the schools and the things we just talked about, there's also a role for marketing on how do we brand this? How do we showcase whatever it is that we do in a way that shows how we impact lives, how we have
mhm.
fun doing it, the difference we make, small and large. So some good stories to craft.
Yeah. And that was one of the things that I think Joe said when you guys did your keynote at the summit. Industrial marketing is hard. Yeah, it is hard. And the point that I think it was Joe that made it, he was like, sometimes we have to prove what the ROI is with the marketing efforts. And I just remember being in so many of the marketing departments with manufacturers that I worked with, and they're like, well, what's the ROI? Like, what's the value that you're bringing by sharing this? And it's like, you're putting yourself out there and you're sharing your solutions. And yes, it might not grab the attention right away to potential clients, but eventually it is. So like you have to build that relationship, that trusting relationship.
Yeah.
So that really hit my soul when he said that, because I was like,
Oh,
I know
yeah.
exactly what you're talking about, because you have to defend your efforts so much when it comes to some manufacturers because they're just not used to good marketing. Like,
Yeah, brands aren't built overnight. I know
yeah,
occasionally we'll have the technical owner of a business call us and they'll say, yeah, 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 branding, all that. Just can you just give me the names for my sales guys to call? Really? No. So
no,
we have a negative persona for those folks.
yeah, because those names aren't going to want your sales guy to call them, because that
No,
was the
absolutely
other
not.
point. That was the other point that was brought up too. Like 60% of the buying decision is already completed before people contact you. Like they already know what they're looking for. So it's like, yeah, they're not going to want you to cold call them. They just don't, like, especially younger generations. My daughter's just like, I don't answer the phone for anything. And I'm like, you need to answer the phone for me for
Yes.
one.
Yes.
But she doesn't. And it's amazing to see how much research she does in her own personal buying decisions. And if she has a question about something, like if she has two different brands, it's interesting to watch, because I didn't think she cared, but they really do care. If she has a a tie between two brands, that's when she'll start reaching out and
Mm.
asking questions just to clarify those, and then she'll make her buying decision. But she already
Yeah.
knows pretty much, oh no, I'm going to buy this. Well, why'd you buy that? And she'll break down her buying decision for me, and I'm like, you need to do a presentation in
I know.
manufacturing for me.
There you go. I could put my 20-something-year-old kids and yours together, and we could do a panel, Gen Z
Right.
panel. Perfect.
Here's their buying journey. This is how
Yeah.
they came up with this. Like,
Yeah.
yeah. So
Well, you have an event coming up. It's gonna be your first event ever. Tell me a little bit about it.
yeah, so I am a huge connector. I love bridging the gap. So I was having a conversation with Chris Lukey, who was also at the summit, and I said, I want to collaborate with you on something because you're a really good storyteller. and you have a lot of trust from the men in the sector, and you're really good yourself personally. So he always like will reach out to me and say, okay, I need more women on my show. Can you give me a list of suggestions? And I'll send him a list. But he's also really good at going to women events himself and learning about like some of the barriers that women have in the sector, because he just wants to be a better ally. And he's really good at sharing that information with his audience. And there's a lot of great men allies that follow Chris and have been on his show. And I was like, you're just like the guy for the guys. Like, I really like how you present it where it's not like male bashing and all the stuff. Like, you really make men comfortable with wanting to ask questions and, okay, how can I be more supportive with different groups in engineering and manufacturing, not just women. So I was like, I want to collaborate with you on something. And he always puts on the best parties, like the manufacturing happy hour, networking events are great. Like, I love them. So I was like, I definitely want that included. And then we both know Drew, and then we both know Tony Neary from SME. And they're all just really good advocates for engineering and manufacturing. And every single one of them will like give you the shirt off their back if you asked for them. And I think we need more of that attitude in this space to like bring the pride back to US manufacturing. So I was
Mm-hmm.
like, what if we did like a ally rally, like a manufacturing ally rally event? He's like, oh my gosh, I love it. So we decided that we are gonna take all of the conversations that are kind of happening in a siloed way. So like things that we could do differently in education, things that we could do differently in recruiting, things that we can do differently in retention, and things that we could do differently in bringing awareness to the different individuals. So not just women, not just people of color, but also uniquely abled individuals, just impacted individuals, veterans, anyone that isn't normally thought of, to bringing awareness of engineering and manufacturing and bringing it to their attention. Because again, you don't have to be good at math or science. There's a lot of creative avenues in engineering and manufacturing that people can get involved with.
Yeah.
There's also a lot of problem solving. There's supply chain, there's procurement, like there's different things going on. And it is really the place for anyone, I think. So we're hosting this event June 20th in Cleveland, Ohio. It's going to be at the Windows on the River venue. And there's going to be about 3 or 4 panel discussions that are really focusing on those particular topics. So education, recruitment and retention, brand awareness, and then just bringing in different groups of people into engineering and manufacturing. And then it's going to be a full day. So we're going to start at 9, probably end around 3:30, and we're going to be serving lunch and breakfast, so you'll be fed and well hydrated, because we're going to have beverages as well too. And then at the end of the day, Chris is going to do one of his famous manufacturing happy hour events. So we're super excited. It's our first event. We're hoping to make it annual, and it's just a way to help communities come together, brainstorm ideas, and get people within their communities really excited about engineering and manufacturing. Because again, my major question to everyone out there is, what happens to the rest of the world if US manufacturing fails? And that's what I want people to think of. So how can we come together, be proactive, and really get people excited about this sector again? And my mom, when I had my daughter Annie, my mom always said it's going to take a village to raise her right. And I think it's going to take a village for us to really strengthen US manufacturing and to what it was back during World War II. Like, everybody was so proud to be part of it back then. And I feel like who's in it now, they're very proud of it, but we suck at being our own cheerleaders. So
Yeah.
rally, let's rally together. Let's make everyone excited. Let's get the younger generations excited, and then let's start closing these gaps that we see.
Okay. Well, who should attend? Like, if you can think about the ideal positions or types of people, who are you hoping will attend?
Yeah, so if you're part of a nonprofit organization that advocates for engineering and manufacturing, you should definitely be part of this event. If you're a major decision maker within your manufacturing company and you're struggling getting skilled talent through the door, definitely should be part of this event. If you are part of HR and human resources and you are struggling to get people to apply for some of the open positions, you should definitely be part of this event. And then I'm challenging government and state officials to attend as well too, because you walk a lot of you talk a lot of talk, like a lot of them do. I want to see you walk the walk now. Like if you're really interested in building up manufacturing, what are you doing then on the state and federal level with some of these policies that are going to help some of the smaller and medium-sized businesses? So I definitely want to have a one-on-one conversation with those individuals. So yes, I'm challenging them to attend as well.
Yeah, sounds like a great opportunity to be more in touch with some of the issues and ideas around this. So I
Yeah.
love it. What do you have a website where people can go to learn more, or a LinkedIn, or where should they go?
So LinkedIn, definitely to reach out to myself, Chris Lukey, Drew Crow, or Tony Neary. We do not have a website. I've been posting individual posts right now.
Okay.
I probably should put it on a website. That's a good idea. I'm a marketer, can you tell? I'll probably put something on a website. We just got done with the finalizing the budget, so now we're looking for allyship. So if anyone's interested in partnering with us on the event, I would love them to reach out to me because we have different allyships that we're going to be including. And I mean, you're going to get a great reach because Chris has a huge following, Andrew has a huge following, I have a huge following, so does Tony, but we're also connected to other advocates. So like we're pulling in some of our friends to help promote the event. I'm not going to name them because I didn't get their permission to name them, but if you know myself or Chris Lukey, you know who we're connected to, and they're all for this event and they might even show up. So your reach will be phenomenal if you decide to partner with us. And we take good care of our partners. Like we really appreciate all of the makers of the world, and we want to help fix this problem, but we also want to help communities be able to take control of it as well too. So it's not something that we are making money off of. Like we are not taking a check from this. I personally am not taking a check from this because I just believe in giving. What you put out in the world comes back to you even more. So I really want to help manufacturers solve this problem and connect them to as many people as possible. I just think that's my purpose. So yes, we're looking for partnerships, but everything that's left over, I do want to mention this. It's going to be donated to whatever organization needs the resources, or if they need to put it towards something workforce development related. We are working with organizations and communities to give them that donation so that they can strengthen the workforce development efforts within their community. So
Oh,
you're not really paying for anything, you're just donating and investing in that workforce development within that specific community.
and you get some food and drinks out of it, so that's good too.
Yes.
And a
Yes.
good party sponsored by Chris. So
Yes, absolutely.
manufacturing happy hour. Well, Meaghan, so if you guys want to connect with Meaghan, go to LinkedIn, and her last name Ziemba is spelled
Yep.
Ziemba. So
Yep.
Meaghan Ziemba, and of course your podcast, the Manufacturing Mavens. So I assume people can find that on whatever their favorite, listening platform is.
Yeah, it's Mavens of Manufacturing, so Mavens is first. But yeah.
Mavens at Manufacturing. Got it.
Yeah. And
Okay.
it's a really cool brand. Like I really like so I pulled inspiration from Rosie the Riveters. And if you go on YouTube and you look at some of the earlier episodes, I actually interviewed some of the original Rosie the Riveters, and they're super sweet ladies. And so I like giving out merch to parents. So if you have any little girls that want a t-shirt or a blanket or something, please reach out to me because I will send that to you so that they can be mini mavens.
You have the coolest logo, and I wish I had it handy, but I have your sticker that you handed out at the Industrial Marketing Summit. It's so cool, so cool. So I'm
Thank you.
glad to know the backstory behind that. So,
Thank you.
well, thank you, Meaghan, for being here and for all that you do to advocate for manufacturers. I really appreciate you being here today.
Yes, thank you, Wendy, for having me. And if you didn't attend, I got a plug for you guys because I think you did a really amazing job at the marketing summit. If you guys did not attend this year, definitely attend next year. I learned a lot. I've been in marketing for a long time, but I was able to learn a lot of helpful information, especially with all of the AI stuff and the AI tools coming out. Like I use very I use Canva and I use Chat GPT for some of my stuff, but one of the presentations, Dale, I think was his name,
Uh-huh.
I didn't know you could do prompts like that with the
Oh
Chat
yeah.
GPT. So check out Dale because he had a lot of helpful information that I didn't even know. So I was
Yeah,
just,
Dale
that was,
Bertrand,
yeah,
and he was on this podcast a couple months ago, so you could check that out too. And
yeah,
what I love about Dale, and I don't know if he shared this during the presentation because I was in another room, but he's an engineer and engineer turned marketer. So you can just, as you hear him talk about it, you can just hear that engineering like mind
yeah.
blowing.
It
So
was so helpful though, because a lot of people have struggle with Chat GPT because of the prompts. And he provided that roadmap on how to like create a successful prompt for whatever you need. And he was like, you should put something in there for like the niche trade shows that you want to attend. And I'm like, I didn't even know you could do that. Like it was such helpful information. So definitely check out
yes,
the summit's webpage because they do have all the speakers on there. And
yeah.
yeah, they were all helpful. So super excited for next year.
Thank you. All right. Well, I will let you go enjoy your day. Thanks again, Meaghan.
Thank you, Wendy.
Thanks for joining me today on Content Marketing Engineered. For show notes, including links to resources, visit truemarketing.com/podcast. While there, you can subscribe to our blog and our newsletter and order a copy of my book, Content Marketing Engineered. Also, I would love your reviews on this podcast. So please, when you get a chance, subscribe and leave me your review on your favorite podcast subscription platform. Thanks and have a great day.